Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear student, I am Dr. Razia here. Today we will discuss about the renal physiology topic, reabsorption and the secretion. In our previous lecture, we will discuss about the urine formation. So there are 4 steps in the urine formation, as you know in my previous lecture. Number 1 is the filtration, and we will discuss in detail the glomerular filtration, their regulation. Now the second step is the reabsorptions and the secretions. So the reabsorptions is the tubular reabsorption. It is a process by which water and the other substances are transported from the tubule back to the blood. Before the formation of the urine, along this course, some substances are selectively reabsorbed from the tubules back into the blood, where other are secreted from the blood into the tubular lumen. So eventually the urine that is formed, and all the substances in the urine represented the sum of 3 basic renal processes: the glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption and the tubular secretion. So here today we will discuss about the tubular reabsorption and also the secretions. You can see in this slide the tubular filtrate, the plasma volume that enter afferent arteriole. These are about the 100%, as it will filtrate, the 20% of the volume will be filtrate, through which the 19% of the fluid is reabsorbed in the peritubular capillaries, and only the 1% volume is excreted to the external environments. You can see in the 4 number, the 99% of the plasma entering the kidney return to the systemic circulation by the process of tubular reabsorptions. Only 1% is excreted to the external environment. There are many substances that are reabsorbed, and the excretion rate of these substances you can see here in the tabulated form. It will show the renal handling of several substances that are all freely filtered in the kidney and reabsorbed at a variable rate. So there is a selective reabsorption. The tubular reabsorption is highly selective. So some substances such as the glucose and amino acids you can see in the table are almost all completely reabsorbed from the tubule. So the urinary excretion rate is 0. Many of the ions such as sodium chloride, bicarbonate are also highly reabsorbed, but their rate of reabsorption and urinary excretion are variable depending upon the need of the body. And you can see the some end products such as the urea and the creatinine that are reabsorbed from the tubule and excreted at a large amount. So by controlling their reabsorption of different substances, the kidney regulate excretion of solute independently to one another. A capability that is essential for the control of body fluid. In this chapter we will discuss about their mechanisms. So first of all we will discuss here the route of the reabsorptions. So there are 2 pathways of the reabsorptions. One is the transcellular route and other one is the paracellular. In transcellular routes, the transport of substances, number 1, from the tubular lumen into the tubular cells through the apical surface of the cell membrane. Number 2, the tubular cell into the interstitial fluid, and number 3 is the interstitial fluid into the capillaries. And second route is the paracellular. This route, the substances move through the intercellular space. In it will consist of number 1, the tubular lumen into the interstitial fluid in the lateral intercellular space through the tight junction between the cell and interstitial fluid into the capillaries. So the mechanism of transport by the active transport and the passive transport. Active transport is further subdivided into primary active, secondary active, and the third process is the pinocytosis. So the active reabsorption, you can see here, is the movement of molecule against the electrochemical or the uphill gradients. It needs liberation of energy which is derived from the ATP. So substances that are actively reabsorbed from the renal tubules are the sodium, calcium, potassium, phosphate, sulfate, bicarbonate, glucose, amino acid, ascorbic acid, uric acid, and the ketone bodies. Example are here the sodium that can transport through the active transport by the sodium potassium ATP carriers from the lumen into the tubular cell, here from the interstitial fluids from where it go into the peritubular capillaries. And the secondary active transports that are also consist of two types. One is the co-transport and other is the counter transport mechanisms. So the co and the counter transport, also called symport and the antiport, sodium along with the glucose co-transport will move 1 moiety glucose in the same direction as the sodium, and in the counter transport the ions will move hydrogen ion in the opposite direction to the sodium ion. And some part of the tubule, especially the proximal tubule, reabsorb large molecules such as protein by the pinocytosis. And the next are the passive transport. Passive transport is the movement of molecule along the electrochemical gradients or the downhill movement. This process does not need any type of the energy. The substances that are reabsorbed passively are the chloride, urea, and the water that can be reabsorbed, especially in the proximal tubule. So the transportation of the sodium and water and the chloride ions in the proximal tubules, including the proximal convoluted tubule, thick descending segment of the loop of Henle. Now we will discuss about the sites of the reabsorption. Reabsorption of the substances is occur in almost all the segment of the tubular portion of the nephron. So first of all we discuss the substances reabsorbed from the proximal tubules. 7 to 8% of the filtrate, about 88% is reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule. The brush border of the epithelial cells in the proximal convoluted tubule will increase the surface area which facilitate the reabsorption. Substances which reabsorb from the proximal tubules are the glucose, amino acid, sodium, calcium, bicarbonate, chloride. So reabsorb 65% of the filtered sodium, chloride, bicarbonate, and potassium are the reabsorbed in the proximal tubules. There are also some secretion from the proximal tubules, so it secretes the organic acid, bases, hydrogen ion into the tubular lumen. The sodium, water, and the chloride reabsorptions in the proximal tubule. The sodium potassium ATPase is the major force for the reabsorption of the sodium, chloride, and the water. So reabsorption of the water from the proximal tubule are The obligatory water reabsorption is the type of water reabsorption in the proximal tubule which is secondary to sodium reabsorption. When sodium is reabsorbed from the tubule, the osmotic pressure decreases. It causes osmosis of water from the renal tubules. In the first half, the sodium is reabsorbed by the co-transport along with the glucose, amino acid and other solute. In second half of the proximal tubule, sodium reabsorbed mainly with the chloride ions. Sodium, water and chloride reabsorptions. The second half of proximal tubule has a high concentration of the chloride compared with the early proximal tubule. In the second half of the proximal tubule, the higher chloride concentration favor the diffusion of ion from the tubular lumen through the intercellular junctions into the renal interstitial fluids. Sodium and water reabsorption in the loop of Henle that are facultative reabsorption is the water type of the water reabsorption in the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct that occur by activity of the antidiuretic hormones. The distal convoluted tubule and collecting ducts are not permeable to the water, but in the presence of ADH, these segments become permeable to water, so it is reabsorbed. So high permeable to water and moderately permeable to more solute is the thin descending limb of loop of Henle. But few mitochondria, it has a few mitochondria, so no active reabsorption will be take place here. So reabsorb about 25% of filter load of sodium, chloride and potassium as well as large amount of calcium and magnesium in the thick segment or the thick ascending loop of Henle. This segment also secrete the hydrogen ion into the tube. We will discuss here the reabsorption as well as secretion of the certain ions. So you can see the mechanism of sodium chloride and potassium transport in the thick ascending loop of Henle through the sodium potassium ATPase pump or from the cell to the tubular lumen through the sodium and hydrogen exchange. Now discuss about the glucose reabsorption. Glucose is reabsorbed along with the sodium in the early portion of the proximal tubule. Glucose is a typical substance removed from the urine by secondary active transport. Essentially, all of the glucose is reabsorbed and no more than a few milligrams appear in the urine per 24 hours. The amount reabsorbed is proportionate to the amount filtered and to the plasma glucose level. But when the glucose transport maximum is exceed, the amount of glucose in the urine will be rises. The glucose is completely reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule. It is transported by the secondary active transport. So the glucose tubular maximum rate or the adult male, it is 375 milligram per minute, or in adult female it is about 300 milligram. The renal threshold for the glucose is 180 milligram per liter in the venous blood. When the blood level reaches 180 milligram per liter, the glucose is not reabsorbed completely and appear in the urine. So you can see here in this graph that it will show with normal GFR of 125 ml per minute and transport maximum of glucose is 375 milligram per minute in the adult male. When the renal threshold curve are drawn by using this value, the actual curve deviate from the threshold or predicted or ideal curve, this type of deviation is called splay. Splay is because of the fact that all nephrons do not have the same filtering and reabsorption capacities. So the renal threshold for glucose is the plasma level at which the glucose first appear in the urine. So one would predict that the renal threshold would be 300 mg per deciliter, that is 375 mg per minute divided by 1 to 5 ml per minute of the GFR. However, the actual renal threshold is about 200 mg of the arterial plasma, which correspond to the venous level of 180 mg. Now comes to the hydrogen secretion and bicarbonate reabsorption. Hydrogen secretion through secondary active transport, mainly at the proximal tubule, loop of Henle and the early distal tubule. More than 90% of bicarbonate is reabsorbed passively in this manner. So you can see here the secondary active transport, the sodium will exchange with the potassium ions. Here the hydrogen ion, carbon dioxide and the water, that will combine to form the carbonic anhydrates, which again convert into bicarbonate ion and the hydrogen ion. These hydrogen ion are secreted in the tubular lumens, and again the cycle will be started. So primary beginning in the late distal tubule and the continuing through the remainder of the tubular system, it occur at the luminal membrane of the tubular cells. Hydrogen ion are transported directly by a specific protein, a hydrogen transporting ATPase, which is also called as the proton pump. And the hydrogen secretion through the proton pump account for only 5% of the total hydrogen ion secreted. Important is forming a maximally acidic urine. Hydrogen ion concentration can be increased as much as 900-fold in the collecting tubules. So decreases the pH of tubular fluid to about 4.5, which is the lower limit of pH that can be achieved in the normal kidney. So excretion of excess hydrogen ion, generation of new bicarbonate ion by a buffer system, which is called as the ammonia buffer system. We will discuss inshallah in our next lectures. Production and secretion of ammonium ion by the proximal tubule cells, that are, you can see here, for each molecule of the glutamine metabolized in the proximal tubule, 2 ammonia ion are secreted in the urine and 2 bicarbonate ion are reabsorbed into the blood. The bicarbonate generated by this process constitute new bicarbonate. The renal ammonium buffer system is subject to physiological control and increase in extracellular fluid hydrogen ion concentration, which stimulate the renal glutamine metabolism and therefore increase the formation of ammonia ion and new bicarbonate to be used in hydrogen ion buffering. With chorionic acidosis, the dominant mechanism by which the acid is eliminated of the ammonia ion, this also provides the most important mechanism for generating new bicarbonate ion during the chorionic acidosis. The potassium reabsorption and the secretion, which is also the important substance which are reabsorbed. These are 65% are reabsorbed and they are secreted only the 25%, and which is also reabsorbed in the late system or late tubular systems. So the only 12% are excreted at the end. The mechanism of potassium secretion and sodium reabsorption by the principal cell of the late distal and collecting tubules that are in exchange of the sodium and by the sodium potassium ATPase. The control of calcium excretion by the kidney is the calcium in both filtered and reabsorbed in the kidney but not secreted. Only 50% of the plasma calcium is ionized. With reminder, it is bound to the plasma protein. Calcium excretion is adjusted to meet the body need. Parathyroid hormone increases the calcium reabsorption in the thick ascending loop of anal and distal tubule and reduces the urinary excretion of calcium. So these are all about the reabsorptions through the tubular system or tubular reabsorption, which is the, and some substances which are secreted. Some substances are transported from blood back into the renal tubules and some substances are transported from the filtrate back into the blood. With all these changes, the filtrate become urine. So urine formation take place in three processes. One is the glomerular filtration, the tubular reabsorption. So 99% of filtrate is reabsorbed in the different segment of renal tubule, and some substances are transported from the blood into the renal tubule. With all these changes, the urine will be formed. So these are all the steps for the formation of urine. In our next lecture, inshallah, we will discuss about the concentrated urine and the dilute urine. So I hope you will understand this lecture. Thank you.